The self-proclaimed Zodiac killer is directly linked to at least 5 murders in Northern California in 1968 and 1969, with 2 other victims surviving despite serious injuries. However, he might have been responsible for more killings. He taunted police and made threats through letters sent to area newspapers from 1969 to 1974, before suddenly ceasing communication. Through that correspondence, he claimed to have killed as many as 37 people, despite intensive investigation and multiple theories pertaining to the killer's identity. No one was ever caught for the crimes, and the case remains open. The mystery surrounding the murders has been subject of numerous books and movies, including director David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 movie Zodiac. On August 1st, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner received an identical handwritten letter in an envelope without a written address, beginning, "Dear Editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The letters contained details from Zodiac killer's murder that only one perpetrator could have known. The killer went on to threaten further attacks if the letter weren't printed on the first page of the papers. Each letter closed with a symbol consisting of a circle with a cross through it, in what would come to be known as the Zodiac killer's symbol. The letters were also accompanied by one part of a 3-part cipher that he claimed contained his identity. While Bay Area police departments, with the support of FBI, worked feverishly to track down the killer, another letter soon arrived at San Francisco Examiner. "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." It also described the murders in detail and taunted police for not having been able to crack his code or catch him. Several days later, high school teacher Donald Harden and his wife Betty were able to solve the cipher. "I like killing people because it is so much fun," it read. "It is more fun than killing the wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." 3 days after the 4th known Zodiac killing, the 1969 murder of taxi driver Paul Stine, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime, written in the same erratic print as the Zodiac's previous letter. It gave the details of Stine's murder and was accompanied by the bloody scrap of Stine's shirt. At the end of the letter, the killer mused that he would next shoot out the tire of a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. The Zodiac killer continued his taunting correspondence with Bay Area papers, in which he included more ciphers, claiming to have committed several more murders, and mocked the police for their inability to catch him. In 1974, the letters stopped, though the investigation continues to this day. 4 separate attacks involving 7 people have been definitely attributed to the Zodiac killer. The first confirmed incident took place in the night of December 20th, 1968, when a 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend, Betty Lou Jensen, were shot to death near their car at a remote spot in Lake Herman Road, on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. Police were baffled, unable to determine the motive of the crime or suspect. In the early morning of July 5, Darlene Ferrin, age 22, and her boyfriend, Mike Meek, were sitting in a parked car similarly remote Vallejo location when they were approached by a man with a flashlight. The figure fired multiple shots at them, killing Ferrin and seriously wounding Meg. Within an hour of the incident, a man called the Vallejo Police Department, calling them the location of crime scene and claiming responsibility for both that attack and 1968 murders of Faraday and Jensen. Despite evidence that included fingerprints, MAC description, the decoded cipher, and the wave of tips and leads, police were unable to track down the Zodiac killer. On the evening of September 27, he struck again, approaching young couple Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell as they relaxed on an isolated part of a shore of Lake Parisa in Napa County. Wearing a hood and a shirt bearing a circle cross symbol, he tied them before brutally stabbing them, scrawling a message for police on their car door, and leaving the scene. He then called the Napa Police Department to claim responsibility. Shepard and Hartnell were both in critical condition, but alive when emergency services arrived. However, Shepard died of her wounds shortly thereafter. 2 weeks later, On October 11, the Zodiac claimed another life, shooting 29-year-old taxi driver Paul Stine, San Francisco's Hyde neighborhood. As the murder didn't seem to fit the Zodiac's patterns, it was initially deemed a robbery until the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime. At least 5 other murders have been tentatively linked to the Zodiac killer, including the 1963 shooting of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards and the 1966 stabbing death of college student Cherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California. Now the most asked question, who was the Zodiac killer and what was his identity? With descriptions from witnesses who had seen a man leaving the scene of Paul Stine's 1969 murder, police were able to create and circulate a composite sketch of the killer. But despite mounting evidence and investigation of numerous suspects, the Zodiac remained at large. More than 5 decades after the Faraday-Jensen murders, no suspect have ever been arrested. The inability to identify the Zodiac killer has continued to frustrate law enforcement. The mystery surrounding the Zodiac case can also fascinate the public and has inspired more than its fair share the theories regarding the killer's identity. Ranging from possible to absurd, these include the claims that he was Ted Kaczynski or convicted murderer Charles Manson, or that he was eventually moved to Scotland and committed murders there before finding happiness and giving up his wicked ways. Some other theories include the true crime author and former San Francisco Chronicle cartoonist Robert Graysmith also suggested that the man named Arthur Lane Allen is the most likely suspect. Allen died in 1992, however, conclusively connected to any of the murders. In 2014, HarperCollins published The Most Dangerous Animal of All by Gary L. Stewart, in which he claims that his father, Earl Van Bez Jr., who bears a strong resemblance to the man in the police sketch, was the Zodiac killer. Another man came forward in 2014 to reveal that a friend named Louis Mayers had confessed to being the killer before his death in 2002. Certain events in Mayers' history matched up with those connected to the Zodiac, but as the Allen and Van best, there was no conclusive proof. Surprisingly, the case today solved the cipher and more theories. In 2020, after more than 50 years, amateur codebreakers solved the Zodiac killer's cipher. The coded message read, "I hope you are having a lot of fun in trying to catch me that wasn't me on the TV show." Which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all sooner. Because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death. In October 2021, a team of 40 former law enforcement investigators called the Casebreakers claimed to have identified the Zodiac killer. They believe that Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018, was responsible for the murders. According to USA Today, this claim relied largely on DNA evidence found at the scene of Cherry Jo Bates' murder in 1966 at Riverside City College in California. Additionally, the casebreaker claimed that Post had the same shoe size and similar forehead scars to the Zodiac killer, and the letters to the press contained anagrams of his name. However, police have remained adamant that Bates is not confirmed victim of the Zodiac killer, meaning Post was not made a suspect. In 2022, another Jared Kobeck wrote an investigation book titled How to Find Zodiac and hypothesized the killer's identity as Paul Doyer, a San Francisco Bay Area man who died in 2007. He found that both Doyer and the Zodiac had shown an interest, through writing, in making homemade bombs, particularly of ammonium nitrate and fertilizer. Along with having a similar build to the suspected killer, Doyer also worked at a shipyard in Vallejo in the time of murders. Let's talk about the movies and TV show about the Zodiac killer. The Zodiac killer was the inspiration for the psychopath in 1971 Clint Eastwood. Classic Dirty Harry, which included a scene involving a school bus full of children being hijacked. Years later, Robert Graysmith's writing fueled the creation of David Fincher's critically acclaimed film Zodiac, which hit the big screen in 2007. Subsequent dramatized take the subject include 2007 feature Awakening the Zodiac, about a couple that investigates murderer before falling into his crosshairs. Also in 2017, the History Channel featuring a non-fiction TV series The Hunt for the Zodiac Killer, about investigators' hunt to decipher the Zodiac Killer's code. In March 2020, FX released a documentary series called The Most Dangerous Animal of All, based on Gary L. Stewart's book of the same name. People today are still not able to crack the code who the actual murderer was.